dealing with the causes of the Great Depression and the time of Herbert Hoover, and we've heard a lot about unemployment and soup lines, poverty, all that really negative stuff. Well, today we're going to kind of shift our focus and talk about what happens after President Hoover, and we're going to discuss what's called the New Deal. So I'm going to do this lesson in a PowerPoint presentation today for us, and after my little presentation, we will start with an activity. Okay, so today we are going to explain the ideas of what's called the New Deal. We are going to describe and identify the purpose of different programs to aid in the economic recovery. You will see that there are many different programs, but we're going to kind of focus on what they call the big three. And then after that, we're going to have you guys create what I'm going to call an advertisement to help the unemployed to apply for one of the New Deal programs. This will seem a lot more clear once we get to that part, okay? So as a small review before we talk about new material, can anybody describe what life was like for people during the Great Depression from what you remember from past lessons? Poor, lots of poverty. What were some of the conditions that we saw people living in? Do you remember, Kason?
Like blankets.
Right, little, what they called like shacks, or we did see people sleeping on benches, people waiting in line for food, right? Okay. Does anybody remember who the President of the United States was at the time of the start of the Great Depression? Refreshing your memory, it was President Hoover. And does anybody remember, was he liked by majority of American citizens? Right, and do you remember why he wasn't liked by the American citizens? He was not the most popular president because he was not very helpful in aiding the recovery, the economic recovery. He honestly didn't really feel like government had much of a responsibility in doing so. So before we go into the lesson, I want, can you sit down please, McKenna? Thank you. We are going to talk about some vocabulary that will help us understand the material just a little bit better. So the New Deal was programs set up by President Roosevelt to help Americans during the Great Depression. We'll soon learn about who President Roosevelt is. Progress. Does anybody know what progress means at all? The word?
Making better, doing, getting things rolling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Making things better.
Yeah, the act of moving forward to make improvements. How about conservation? Oftentimes you hear the word conservation maybe when people are talking about environment or animals. That's kind of the act of saving something from destruction. And at this point in the American economy, we are really trying to save the nation from destruction. Okay, so we're going to start off by talking about the presidential election of 1932. As we discussed before, President Hoover was very unpopular as a president because he really just didn't think it was government's responsibility to help Americans in financial recovery. He believed that over time everything would just fall into place and it would correct itself. In the election, so President Herbert Hoover was running for re-election, and he was running against Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who we will be just referring to as FDR. This was his running mate, and FDR was kind of, his whole campaign was based around all the negative things that were going on in America. He campaign saying that he would give Americans hope. He would, with him as president, that he would really help America to recover from the economic crisis that was going on. As no surprise, President Hoover lost the election to FDR, which brings the beginning of the New Deal. Immediately after, can you please sit down? Thank you. FDR was elected, he really wanted to jumpstart the economy, and that's when he introduced the New Deal. The New Deal consisted of a bunch of programs that gave people jobs and helped create a better future for Americans. The big three programs that we're going to be talking about are the Works Progress Administration, which you will hear referred to as the WPA, which was the largest of all New Deal programs. This program helped to build roads and highways, remodel old buildings. They gave women seamstress jobs. It also helped artists they wanted to create murals, so they would pay artists to create murals, bring happy, positive vibes to cities. Another big three program was the Tennessee Valley Authority. The Tennessee Valley was in bad shape, and there was people there suffering from malaria and poverty, and many places didn't even have electricity. As you can see in the map, it's kind of parts of Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, and up to Virginia. The TVA was created to create huge dams that would stop flooding in that area, which would then help give people electricity. Kenna, can you please sit down? The camera's there. I need you to sit down, please. On your bottom, please.
Thank you.
So, and the TVA also provided funding for the development of the river valley, which helped teach farmers better techniques. And then one more big three program that we'll talk about today was the Civilian Conservation Corps. And the goal of this CCC, which it is referred to, was to conserve natural resources such as forests and parklands. So then there were people they hired people there to plant trees, to help make the soil better, and plant crops.
Sure.